Advanced mathematic formulas have largely taken over trading on the financial markets from human beings. Algorithms, which seem to have a life of their own. Algorithms secretly lie waiting for the moment that your Apple share or your pension money gets on the market. The only ones who understand this system in any way are its architects, the algorithm developers. Chaim Bodek is one such algo developer. After finding some strange wrongdoings, he sets out on a personal crusade against this elusive system. It's a step that goes directly against the unwritten Wall Street code of silence and secrecy. This is what's in store for you.
There's kind of a rule: never blame other people, never blame the market, never blame the other trader. It's always you. Your code, your code is wrong.
If you're on Wall Street, you just assume you're being ripped off unless you're the one doing the ripping off.
You know, on Wall Street, we talked about the culture of secrecy. You just don't go to the SEC.
1 cent move in the stock. That's all it is. How a single tick, how a price changes, that's when the game is played. And when that one tick happens, the world is divided into winners and losers.
The machinery behind our financial markets, consisting of mathematical models, data centers, and miles of fiber optic cables, is disguised by technological complexity and secrecy. The builders of this financial system are a new breed of Wall Street employees, quants, mathematicians and physicists who are responsible for a technological revolution. Chaim Bodek is a quant. He specialized in artificial intelligence and worked for Hull Trading and Goldman Sachs. He knows the system from the inside. He helped build it.
One day I got a call that said, hey, you've got to get in touch with this individual. His name is Chaim Bodek. He's got some revolutionary information about high-frequency trading, which is one of the subjects that we cover at the Battle of the Quants. And I said, sure, I'll give him a call and see what's going on. Having Chaim Bodek speak was like opening Pandora's box. And he machine-gunned his way through these series of slides with information that, frankly, I heard back from people in the audience that said they were astounded.
Nobody ever talked about order types until Chaim came around. I mean, it wasn't even part of the conversation. And when I, heard what Chaim was talking about, he's looking at order types that, if used properly, guarantee a profit.
There were definitely people in the audience that were aware of this and cowering in their seats saying, who is this guy and why would he allow this information to be out and potentially ruin our fantastic, opportunity for generating revenue in the marketplace.
There were actually quite a lot of Russians, and one guy came up to me and he says, I know what you're doing. And I'm behind you, and if you need anybody and you need any help, I've got some friends. And I'm like, am I at a quant conference? And these are just other people's reactions, right? I'm thinking to myself, look, it's a bunch of geeks who did this. I don't think I'm going against like the mob or something like that.
In 2011, Bodek's own high-frequency trading company, Trading Machines, went under. According to Bodek, the reason was a wrong order type, or the way in which he told the exchange to execute his order.
Well, this isn't the setup I used to have, I'll tell you that much. But, it'll do. When we launched Trading Machines, we knew which machines we were faster than. We knew specifically which firms we were faster than, and specifically which firms were faster than us, because we traded against these firms.
So you were as fast as the others that were fast?
No, we were faster.
You can take a time frame of 1 second, and it looks as if it's a lifetime of trading between these algos that you never even see.
It was Bart C. Kellerman who invited Chaim Bodek to tell his story at the Battle of the Quants, a recurring event where quants discuss high-frequency trading, amongst other things.
When you buy a stock, you buy it at a price, and then for the next person to buy it, they have to pay more. So that margin was the advantage that a lot of these HFT organizations could take advantage of. Now, it's minuscule in terms of the amounts, but when you do it millions and millions of times, it creates tremendous revenue over a period of time. 10 years ago, these quants would write a model, put it out into the market, and basically go to the beach and relax. And they'd come back at the end of the day and they'd count their money.
Bodek wrote an algorithm for trading machines that would generate a guaranteed income, a money machine that weathered the financial meltdown of 2008. But then, from one day to the next, the algorithm stopped working.
I started seeing behavior on certain exchanges that just was odd. You watch this algorithm and it's cannot trade, even though it's moving the price and it's trying to trade. You're like, why can't it trade? No one will trade with it. I'm going back in time and forward saying, what code changed? We have 1 million lines of code. The pattern I'm seeing is completely inconsistent with every single bug I've ever seen in that area. There's kind of a rule, never blame other people, never blame the market, never blame the other trader. It's always you. Your code is wrong. It took 12 months. 12 months from that date until it was explained to me, and it was explained to me by a person. That's why probably why I didn't discover this for so long, is I sat there trying to figure out what we did wrong. Went to a holiday event hosted by that exchange, and I say, I'm sorry, I have a bug.
So to who are you talking
to a business development guy whose job is to encourage volume growth at the exchange. That's his entire job. He explained to me that my order was being systematically disadvantaged because I was using the wrong order type. So I'm not going to actually blame stock market asymmetry for what finally killed us, but I will say it did waste 1 year of my life chasing something that I could have learned over drinks.
What was your first reaction?
I was humiliated. I was, how could I not know this?
Bodek thought he understood the plumbing of our automated financial markets, but foundered on the social codes within the high-frequency trading world. Certain traders had found a way to have their orders jump the queue. Bodek started his career with a company that pioneered automated trading. In Chicago, at Hull Trading.
We had a very strict process by which we qualified people to work for us. So it was pretty tough to get a job at Hull Trading.
Blair Hull is a trading legend. A mathematics genius, Hull made his first fortune at the blackjack tables in Las Vegas. With that money, he founded Hull Trading. With his quants, he was at the forefront of the automation of financial markets.
In 1977, when I first went down to the Pacific Stock Exchange, I realized that all the paper that was on the floor did not need to exist. And I figured a good programmer could automate this whole process within a year or two. my vision for the direction of where things were going was right on. My timing was off by about 30 years.
Nobody who joined Whole Trading was looking for that Wall Street job. They were joining because they wanted to be surrounded by really intelligent people and working on amazing problems. And that, it was not seen as a Wall Street job. I mean, it would never have applied to an investment bank. It would never even have crossed my mind, right? I'm more of like the Google world, not the Goldman Sachs world, even though I did okay there.
Our search for the origins of the technological revolution that has taken place in financial markets over the past few decades leads us to possibly an even greater trading legend, Thomas Petterfy.
We have everything here. We have the American flag and nature and so for 50 minutes from New York on a good day, it's good.
At age 21, Petterfy fled communist Hungary. He was one of the first to see the enormous possibilities of automated trading. With his company, Interactive Brokers, his net worth is an estimated $6 billion. He receives us in his office.
I have the first handheld iPad type of computer that I made up in 1983. That the people used on the floor. So this was connected to a battery, and here you could display options, various strikes and expiration dates. And here were the bids, and here were the offers, and that way our people on the floor could see what our market was. And via these touch-sensitive
It is a touchscreen.
points, it's a touchscreen, yeah.
And we're talking what year?
1983.
And what were other people?
Other people used their minds.
So did you patent this?
No, I don't believe in patents. I believe that patents make other people disincentivized in coming up with new things.
So other people were sort of copying you?
Sure, other people always copied me, but that's okay. That moves the world forward.
You could have a computer on the floor in the early 80s, but you could not have it directly connected to a price feed. I had my computer in the office, and I would go up the elevator, get my computer run, come back down, execute trades, and walk around the floor, and then I'd go back upstairs, do a computer run, and come back down. So I couldn't actually have real price feeds coming in. In fact, the first time that we had option quotes on the floor, in order to input the S&P 500 price, we had what we called a human ticker. And that's the person that looked at the screen and put the price up or down to make sure it was the exact same price. These are the rules that the exchanges had to make sure that people did not move ahead with automation.
So we devised a way to splice into the wire that was that the keyboard was connected to, and we put in keystrokes via computer, so we were much quicker without having to use the keyboard, having to have people sitting there using the keyboard. So this NASDAQ official came, and he saw this, and he said, well, you can do that. I said, why not? He says, well, because look at the rule. It says that all orders have to be input by the keyboard. So we decided to build an overlay over the keyboard that had pistons, rubber fingers that would go up and down and type, right? And the only problem was it was very loud. So it was really typing like and so the next time the fellow who comes in again and he hears this crazy, crazy noise, and the orders flying in and out, so he didn't know what to do. And he just looked for a while, and then he went away. And then we never heard of him again.
In the 90s, the Wall Street establishment realized it's falling behind in the technological revolution. Just before the turn of the century, Blair Hull sells his company, including his employees, to investment bank Goldman Sachs for $500 million.
Having Hull being acquired for me was like getting in the back door of Goldman, and we kind of joked about it at Hull often. We were all given personality tests, and the personality type I got was basically your mad scientist personality. Okay. Is there a goal here?
We need some more vinegar, Mom.
So maybe it was about a period of 9 months where people were concerned that I was, working at a bank. I spent a lot of my life and my childhood surrounded by physicists at physics labs.
What did your father say when you went to
I don't think he was that thrilled about Goldman, actually. People in that world had, were exceptional. I met, I just remember these parties, little get-togethers I go to, and I'm like 8 years old, and this guy won the Nobel Prize, and this guy won the Nobel Prize. Come here, son, shake both their hands. These people believed, and keep in mind, some of them created nuclear bombs, right? These people believed that science was going to make a better world, and that the way to make a better world was to understand and to create and to discover. And I'd say the people in that world would look at the world of high finance and say, if you're that smart, why would you do that? Making more money than the other guy, is that really what genius is about?
What's called high-frequency trading, or HFT.
High-frequency trading has nothing to do with economics. It has everything to do with understanding how networks operate, how they fail, how to make them fail, how to make them fail in your advantage, how to make them fail in your advantage without being detected.
Eric Hunsader's company, Nanex, sells financial data. Out of curiosity, he researches abnormal patterns in financial data flows. He knows what's going on in the financial markets to within a millisecond.
So, Eric, where are you taking us?
I'm taking you to the CME facility in Aurora, Illinois.
But the CME is downtown Chicago.
Downtown Chicago as much as the NYSE is downtown New York. Right? So it's really all about the data centers. It's where the machines are. I believe that building up here on the left is the CME's data. Yes, it is.
It looks huge.
It is huge. This is where billions of dollars is transacted every day in the futures markets. When you send orders to buy and sell, this is where it ends up.
But what are these poles, these huge antennas?
This is how they get it to New York fast. So if you were to go climb that tower, and I wouldn't advise it, but if you were and you looked straight down where that dish was pointing, and you had a telescope, you would be able to spot the next one.
But I thought that they
Right here
used
at Hertz.
glass fiber to do so. Glass fiber cable.
This is more direct. So speed of light is all about distance, and actually light travels a little bit faster in the air than it does in fiber. One nanosecond faster, one clock cycle faster is all you need to be. You just need to be faster than the other people. This is probably a big thorn in their side. this relay station here. There's a number of things that can cause loss of signal, like the Fresnel effect, or the atmospheric conditions can change, or some child's balloon could go up at the wrong time.
Bodek's company, Trading Machines, also made money with its ultra-fast trading.
If it was really an equal match, and I had lost fair and square, I would have beaten myself up, I would have nursed my wounds, I would have actually been quite humble about things. I knew through my own self-criticism what I had screwed up and what I hadn't.
Chaim Bodek's HFT company, Trading Machines, closes down for good in January 2011.
I'd heard of Trading Machines, but I didn't know anything about Chaim, so I thought, okay, I might as well meet him. So we set up a meeting soon after. This was a few months after Trading Machines had basically shut down.
It was no coincidence that Bodek started talking to Scott Patterson, a journalist for the Wall Street Journal. Patterson has followed high-frequency trading closely for years. Without knowing about each other, Bodek and Patterson had both been looking into the conflict of interest between the HFT industry and the exchanges for some time.
We did meet at Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan, and I remember distinctly at one point near the end of our conversation, Chaim said something about there being something in the market that's rigged, and he thought that it was in part responsible for what happened to Trading Machines.
But I actually had a full organizational chart with every single head count, one of the top HFTs in my bag, and other things that were part of my business intelligence.
And he'd done a lot of work on it, but it was very vague.
So you gave him this file of documents?
Well, I let him look over my shoulder.
I said, you have to tell me what this is, because so many times in my career I've talked to people who have said they know about something that's potentially illegal or something rigged somewhere or another, but it's just, I never really get them to go beyond just to something that's really vague. And I remember the first real interview that I had with him at his house, and we sat down, I think it was around 10:30 in the morning, and proceeded to talk for 7 hours straight and didn't eat anything. I think I had a glass of water. And, I just sat back and listened to Chaim and took notes for so long that my computer ran out of power, and I had to start taking notes by hand because it all came out.
I'm going to try to explain metaphorically it's really a circus, so I'm going to make it a little bit of a comedy here about what happens, but sadly, this is pretty much the case. We're going to have a concert hall. Let's say it's Metallica. I mean, I like metal music, so Metallica playing at this concert hall. The ticket counter opens at 6 p.m., so I'm going to go and stand in line. But after a while, other people come in after me, and I'm no longer at the end of the line. There are these scalpers. Well, they're in line with me also, okay? I can see them because they're all wearing the same T-shirt. They also have a very, very close relationship with the exchange, with the venue. And what is that relationship? Maybe one of them brings a significant amount, of volume to this. And what does that mean? He buys a lot of tickets. Of course, he sells those tickets to customers here, but one guy brings a lot of volume. Another guy, one of these scalpers, actually owns 10% of the venue. Okay? The third guy he doesn't have a lot of volume. He's not big on this venue, but he's big on another venue, and he's got a board seat on this in this venue. So there's a very, very close relationship between these scalpers and the venue. Scalping Metallica tickets. When the ticket counter opens, I'm going to equate that to the moment when in the stock market a price can change. And 6 p.m. on the dot, this is what I'm going to witness. Every single one of these guys is literally going to immediately, in 1 picosecond, they teleport, okay? They are all here ahead of me. How did that happen? I asked some of the other people, and they say, oh, they're really fast. I'm like, no, they teleport. That guy was behind me. How does he get ahead of me? There really isn't any difference between an order type and being the guy who wears the t-shirt. You just put a little code on your order, and you just say, hey, don't treat me badly, please.
So how did you get in contact with Chaim Bodek?
I met him at Blair Hall's house. He invited me over to have dinner, and that's when I first met him.
So what do you think of him as a person?
He's great. He understands code, and so we were talking shop within 5 minutes.
When he told you his story, was it something that you also already had noticed in the data feeds that you were getting in?
No. There's no way. We don't know who executes on a quote unless we don't know who's behind each one, whereas he would know who's behind his, for example.
And he knows on what exchange he's...
He would see well, I should have been the one in the first... I should have been the next one to be filled, but he wasn't. And there's no way to see that.
No, once I was told, it was so easy to figure out the rest and fill in all the holes. But if you don't actually know that there are scalpers out there who are going to use special order types to queue jump you, and then they're going to buy all the tickets, and then they're going to sell them back to the guys in the line. If you don't know that that is a significant amount of the trading that occurs on an exchange, and if you don't know the mechanisms by which it occurs, it's, you believe what you see on the price feed.
So who set this up?
It's not a business guy who designed these features. Only a few people out there who have really have the technical competency to design these features. Less than 10.
10?
Less than 10, way less.
And you know them all?
Not personally. Well, I know many of them personally. I don't know all of them personally. I'm very familiar with their work.
What were the algorithms that you were building at Citadel, and what was their function?
I can't get into that. I'm terrified of Citadel lawyers. So.
Dave Lauer was a trader and analyst at top HFT firms Alston and Citadel. He was asked to testify as an expert at a Senate committee hearing about high-frequency trading. Like Bodek, he is one of the few insiders who has come forward with his experiences.
So at the top you have high-frequency trading and proprietary trading desks in the big banks. That's the main, that's the party that everyone else is trying to serve or be a part of. Underneath them you have the exchanges, and the exchange's entire business model now revolves around volume. So the exchanges work hard to court HFT, to attract them to their venues, and therefore to attract the volume. And the brokers are the ones routing orders to the exchanges, and they're making money off commissions from their buy-siders. So at the bottom is the buy side. The buy side are the pension funds and the mutual funds. They're the investors. They're the ones who are actually there because they think that a company has good prospects or good fundamentals.
And so the amount of money that's being made by all these layers, that is what it costs
effectively, yeah, that's the cost to trade.
When a mutual fund or a pension fund is putting a large order in the market, How is that order being called in jargon among traders?
Oh, it's the dumb money. It's the low-hanging fruit. It's that's dinner. It's the bread and butter. It's all these algos do is try to detect when that's happening. It's all about figuring out when the institution is buying and selling.
They're just waiting for my pension money to hit the...
Yeah, and they're just going to skim a little bit off the top.
Death by 1,000 cuts. You'll just get picked apart as that order travels through the system. You want to be on the other side of that trade. That's where you're going to make money. It's just how it's been for a long time, so I think most people are just used to it and they don't question it. And they probably just assume they're being ripped off. That's sort of, if you're on Wall Street, you just assume you're being ripped off unless you're the one doing the ripping off.
Basically, the people whose money is in the large pension funds and investment accounts, they do not understand what is happening. If they understood that it is their money, that basically the banks are taking from them and report it as profits, then they would do something about it. But the problem is that it's too complicated for people to understand.
It was kind of a comedy for me when the order type issue erupted, and it was clear how many people did not know that these exchanges offered specialized order type. You're talking about probably 90% of finance doesn't know how the U.S. stock market works.
The exchanges were originally owned by the brokers, and they would bring new companies to market in the exchange in the hopes that the brokers would then be able to market those new company shares to their customers and get a fee for doing that marketing. And those companies would grow, and they'd be successful, and everybody would be happy. What's changed, though, in the whole scheme of things, is these exchanges have now been taken over to a large extent by investors, private equity companies, not necessarily interested in growing small companies and going public, but instead just generating a monthly return. High-frequency trading provides a fee for every trade made. So the more successful and more frequently somebody trades, the fees generated from that went back into creating a profitable exchange.
These high-frequency firms, they thrive on complexity because of everyone, they understand it the best. They understand, because that's their business, is to study market structure, to understand inefficiencies in market structure and exploit those.
Exchanges have changed from places where companies attracted investors to data centers where wars are waged between algorithms that trade with each other at the speed of light. A hidden world where, during a sudden implosion, the infamous 2010 flash crash, $862 billion evaporated within minutes on American stock markets.
Wow! Almost 1,000 points! We call this a capitulation! They're gonna probably halt trading! We can't stop the selling!
The flash crash was an event for me that it was a defining event. There was no way for me to ignore that. I was on a high-frequency trading floor. Things were going pretty normal. I mean, as normal as it can be, the market was down 2.5%. There was riots on TV in Greece, and every time they showed the Greek riots, the market would drop a little. And I remember looking up, and just like every trading floor, CNBC is on, and I saw that the Dow Jones had dropped another 100 points. I said, okay, whatever, kept working. A minute later, I look up, and it had dropped another 100 points. I got up off my desk, and I walk over to the futures traders, and they're just scrambling all over the place. They don't know what's going on. They had huge amounts of of orders in the market. Everything's going crazy. Market started dropping another 100 points. And the CEO of the firm comes running out onto the floor, and he's just screaming, pull everything, pull everything. So they're just hitting buttons, turning everything off. And so we're all sort of huddled around these two screens. And the one screen is we're looking at the book. So it's the futures market. You have a set of people that are willing to buy and a set of people that are willing to sell. This is the market. And as we're watching the screen, the orders, they start drifting, like orders are being canceled. And then they start drifting more. And then they start to go off the screen. And then they were gone. There was nothing. There was no market. For moments, for seconds, there was no market. And we're all just sitting there, and you're staring into oblivion. You're like, you have no idea what is about to happen. I was thinking that something terrible has just happened. Something indescribably horrible just happened. The market was gone.
I picked up my phone and called my trading desk, and I said, what's going on, the guys? And they said, well, we don't know. So I said, what are you doing? Are you widening out your markets? And they said, yes, yes, yes. I said, okay, well, that's all we can do. And let's wait until it stops. Yeah. I mean, you get a nauseous feeling. You're worried. You don't know, is the world coming to an end or what's happening, right?
Even 9/11 didn't have that kind of impact. So you just... Things started to return to normal, and the market recovered, and it bounced back, and everyone just kept going. And for me, I don't know, it just changed me. Looking back on that day, I lost faith in capitalism, or at least what we had built to be capitalism, and I didn't trust it anymore. I lost trust. My friend has a PhD in climate science from Harvard, who was working there. There was a PhD in bioinformatics sitting next to me, a semiconductor designer on the other side. Sitting behind me was a master's in math from MIT. And these people are taking their huge brain power and devoting it to making pennies in a high-frequency trading system. And I couldn't justify that anymore, because they should have been doing, they should have been curing cancer or global warming, and here they are, they're making a fortune. And were we making the markets a better place? Were we increasing efficiency or stability? I mean, that day showed me that we weren't.
Just went through its other speed lines. So
this is bad. This is when you
know.
know.
Go back up there, I think.
Yeah, this is when you know you stopped for the day. Because this entire day we've done all this, right? And this algo has been pretty much max pain down $200. It's up, 471 right now. How many contracts?
37
contract size is kind of moves up, but I mean,
It rebalances.
No, I'm saying if it's down direction.
yeah, she will.
You're dealing with the puts, right?
She will, but this option won't.
Pure question, right?
That's where trader guys make more money.
Oh, the market's closed. Hey! I just bought this Facebook and now I got an overnight. What an idiot.
Yep.
What a herb. All right, so I'm overnight 500 contracts.
What do you think you were doing?
On Facebook.
5 minutes left.
Dude, I thought it was like 3 o'clock, man.
So essentially, we run a hedge fund out of here. We pretty much manage a community of traders. We bootstrapped it from nothing. I'm from Los Angeles, and our head trader is from Boston. We decided to come out here and try to make a killing for ourselves. This is Brian Weiner. He is a former head trader over at Trading Machines, which was pretty much run by this guy right here, Chaim Bodek, aka the Algo Arms Dealer. Okay, that's what we call him here. And he educates us on microstructure, and we use it to try to become better traders.
What I do is I get a kick out of watching these guys beat up the machines, which they can do, which is fascinating to me given what I've seen in this business.
Together with his friends, Peter Zhang rented a loft in downtown Manhattan to start a hedge fund. Recently, they started working with Chaim Bodek to develop an algorithm that simulates the gutsy behavior of a day trader.
Charlie lives here, this was originally, I think it was supposed to be a study. He's now turned it into a rainforest jungle. And he lives pretty well, you know. Obviously, he's got his own fan, he's got his own bathroom, it's cool. Anand, our main trader, he's got the most gigantic room ever. But this is the master bedroom, though, and obviously there's everything here. It's a really big room. He pays, obviously, the most rent here. So most of the time, like after trading and after being really worn out, we will just kind of crash on the couch, and it's just like, because we're always in each other's faces, you know, this is kind of like where we hang out. It's also where I sleep. This is my blanket right there. Yep. And we should probably clean it up a little bit.
Where does Chaim sleep when he's here?
When Chaim's here, he sleeps right there.
And then it goes down, yeah. It sucks,
No, but I mean, that's the point. And I think...
And you guys could be greedy about deltas.
We actually reached out to him through Twitter, and we talked to him on the phone, and he seemed like a genius on the phone. And when he came in, the first time, we just said, you should just come over. You know, come see our operation. You're going to love it. Let's do some business, maybe. And so he comes over, and he walks in just like full speed in a suit that doesn't even fit him. And I'm like, hi, what's going on, man? And Anand has this list. He's got this list, like, questions to ask Chaim Bodek. You know, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll do that. And immediately we notice Chaim does this thing. It's called getting Chaimed. He goes on. And he's just the unleashing of the genius, pretty much.
He's certainly respected. He's very experienced. He's got a very impressive background. But it doesn't take away from the fact that he was a high-frequency trader and his systems failed. So I think that plays a large part in how he's seen by the industry.
You would see things like he's not credible and this doesn't happen or this doesn't happen anymore, but never facts behind him.
After talking to journalist Scott Patterson, who later publishes Bodek's findings in his book Dark Pools, Bodek decides to go to the American stock market regulator, the SEC.
You know, on Wall Street, you know, we talked about the culture of secrecy. You just don't go to the SEC and tell them about the, you know, inside workings of Wall Street and how things really operate. That's just, you're a pariah if you do that.
And I'm thinking to myself, you know, this thing's gonna go away. Someone just has to open their mouth, it'll go away overnight. It's a few lines of code to comment out the primary alphas. It's all artificial.
Bodek's complaint is taken up by stock market regulator SEC. The investigation has been going on now for 2 years. The SEC will not comment on its progress.
The SEC has not taken action, and it's been a couple of years now. And they have certainly shown that the inclination to fine exchanges and to make sure that things are being run as they should be. So either there's nothing going on, or it's so complex that it's taking them years.
Well, there's no question that the sophistication of the trading firms far outpaces the sophistication of the SEC. I think that these are very smart people, and they can go to the SEC and they can explain why they want an order type, why it's helpful for the rest of the market, and sound very convincing, and leave out this other part about how it's going to allow them to, you know, rake up millions in profits every day and guarantee them, you know, provide guaranteed economics.
I think the proprietary trading firms are using the rules to their advantage. And the fact that we created some rules that shouldn't have been created, and we created some order types that are now being looked at very seriously by the SEC, I don't think you can criticize the high-frequency trading firms who have only played by the rules.
Can we really expect the financial regulators to keep pace with the latest technological developments? The flash crash was followed by numerous other computer-driven technical glitches, like the computer problems during the Facebook IPO, the Twitter crash when people thought the White House had been bombed, or the time Goldman Sachs may have lost as much as $100 million in 17 minutes' time due to a faulty algorithm. In a world that is enveloped in silence and secrecy, no one seems to comprehend what's going on, let alone control it.
The markets and the interplay in the industry between all these firms with all these very complicated and complex technology systems and how they interact makes the entire system of exchanges, high frequency, and brokers and the interaction between the technology, it makes it a complex system. And so, for example, the flash crash is the perfect example. There is no cause and effect that you can point to. What caused the flash crash is a nonsense question. It makes no sense in the context of a complex system. And if you were to replay the same sequence of events identically, there's no guarantee that it would cause a flash crash again. That's the nature of complex systems.
Is it the correct remark that a lot of insiders don't understand the markets?
I don't think anyone understands what's going on. I think that's another quality of complex systems, that they're kind of beyond human comprehension to a large degree, because you don't know, you understand very well what your algorithms are doing and what your technology is doing. But once that starts interacting with all of the other systems out there, it's very hard to know what's going to result from that.